Another way to solve a system of linear equations is by using a method called elimination. Now recall that a system of linear equations is just more than one equation acting at the same time. In our questions, we'll only be dealing with two equations. So elimination involves adding or subtracting our two equations together to eliminate one of the variables. In this example, our first equation is y equals 3x minus 1, and our second equation is y equals 5x plus 2. Now, the first thing that you should do is to make sure that all your variables are properly stacked on top of each other. Now, what that means is that you want like terms, such as our y terms on top of each other, our x terms should be on top of each other, and our constant numbers should be on top of each other, just so that it is easier for you to add and subtract your equations. Now you will need to examine both equations. You want to look at one of your variables. You need to have the same number in front of at least one of the variables. In front of our x, we have a 3, and then we have a 5. But in front of both our y's, there is a 1. It's an imaginary positive 1, but it is the same number. It's the same coefficient. So that is the variable that you are going to eliminate. Now you need to add or subtract your equations together to eliminate one of the variables. So remember, we're trying to eliminate our y variable. So let's take a look here. If we were to add our two equations together, you need to add every single term. So we're doing -1 plus 2, and that becomes 1, positive 1. And then we do 3x plus 5x, that becomes 8x. We bring down that equal sign, and y plus y equals 2y. Now, did we eliminate one of the variables? No, we didn't. So we need to actually subtract our two equations. So if we subtract our two equations, -1 minus 2, that becomes -3. And 3x minus 5x, that becomes -2x. And we need to bring down that equal sign. Y minus y is just 0y. So we have actually eliminated our y variable. The equation that we are left with is just 0 equals -2x minus 3. Now this is an easy equation that we're able to solve. We have one variable there, so now we can solve and isolate x. So we need to bring the term with x over to the other side. So that just becomes 2x equals -3. And to get x by itself, we need to divide by 2. So x is just equal to -3 over 2. Now that we found x, we can actually use this value to substitute into one of your original equations. So we would then substitute x equals -3 over 2 into any of the equations, and I'm going to choose equation 1. So the original equation is y equals 3x minus 1, and we just need to replace x with -3 over 2. Now notice how we're just left with one variable in the equation, and this is a really easy equation to just solve, so we're solving for y. So 3 times -3 over 2 is just -9 over 2. And we want to keep our fractions just to keep our answers more exact. So our final answer for y is -11 over 2. Now remember, when we're solving a linear system, we are given an x value and a y value. This is just our point of intersection, so you need to write a final statement. So therefore the solution, or you can write the point of intersection, is -3/2 and -11/2. Here's another example. Now, if you feel confident with this process of elimination, then go ahead and pause the video and fast forward until the solution. But otherwise, I will be running through this again. So our first equation is y equals x minus 1. And our second equation here is y equals 3x plus 5. Now remember, you need to stack your equations on top of each other so that all of your variables and your terms are lined up accordingly. You want the x's, the y's, and the constant terms on top of each other. Now you need to choose which variable you want to eliminate, and it needs to be the variable with the same coefficient in front. Since our y terms both have a +1 in front, then that is the letter that we're going to eliminate. That's the variable we're going to eliminate. So we need to, in this case, subtract our two equations. When we subtract our two equations, you will get 0y equals -2x minus 6. Now to solve this equation, just bring that -2x to the other side of the equal sign, and we'll get 2x equals -6. And so x is equal to -3. Now we just need to plug in that x value that we found, x is equal to -3, into one of our original equations. Now I'm going to do equation 1. It doesn't matter which equation you substitute into, it will give you the same answer. So y is equal to -3 minus 1, and our answer for y is just -4. Now don't forget to give your final statement, state your solutions. So the solution is -3, -4. Here's our next example. Now I do want you to pause the video, take some time to try this example yourself, and then come back to check your answer. Once you have solved this question, you will get x is equal to -1, y is equal to 2. So don't forget to write out your final statement. So our solution to this question is -1 and 2.